to talk about the sacred because I keep hearing about it, that word, that concept, in places where I maybe wouldn't have expected it. Like in a discussion of policy, hearing people say we're going to make policy as though every community is sacred, or people talking about rivers or mountains being sacred. And every time I hear people talking in this way, I feel this little tendril that feels like hope. It feels like, finally, maybe are we getting to the heart of the matter? And I say that because all my teachers in systems theory have said for a really long time that the root of our crisis is a mismatch. And it's a mismatch between how the world works, which is whole, which is indivisible, interconnected, interdependent, and how our current systems operate, which is broken into pieces, fragmented, and assuming that a piece can be healthy at the expense of another piece. My country can thrive at the expense of your country. My generation can be well at the expense of your generation. That a food system can be healthy at the expense of pollinators, and on and on and on like that. And so the thing about bringing the sacred into how we think, into policy, into science, is that it's an antidote, it's a repudiation of that thinking about winners and losers. Because if everything is sacred, then everything must win. That's the goal that you would shoot for. So imagine that for a minute. Imagine climate policy or community economic development or food systems or transportation, if everything was seen as sacred, was acknowledged as sacred, it would be transformative, which is why I feel that tendril of hope when in places that that aren't coded as religious or spiritual but are practical and pragmatic, and there is acknowledgement of the sacred. Now, I don't know if you're seeing that trend, and of course a trend isn't a tipping point. And so what is really on my mind is, could a trend like this become a tipping point, and what would it ask of us to participate in that? And when I ask that question, the thing I think about is courage. The courage to take the part of ourselves that experiences the sacred, whatever words we use for that, that touches into that feeling of being held in a living web. Maybe it's a wisdom tradition or a religion. Maybe it's your scientific understanding, but the part that says that there is a whole, and the whole is made of parts, and all of the parts matter. Imagine the courage to come from that vantage point in everyday interactions, in your professional selves. I can picture that, and I can picture the courage it would take. The courage to be a scientist who talks maybe not only about the ecosystem services of a species, but how the forest or the meadow or the river would be bereft without that species. To be the consultant who says, not only does this policy matter for the future workforce, it matters because every child is sacred. There's only one of this child in the entire universe. And if they don't develop to their full potential, what a loss that is. I mean, we're not used to people talking in that way. And I think the reason for the unfamiliarity is that the sacred is the transformative, unlocking, and honestly kind of destroying key to the system as it is. The system as it is couldn't withstand people, culture, societies that believed everything is sacred, which is why it is uncomfortable to talk about the sacred in places that aren't meant for it. It's a defense to hold the current system in place, which is where the courage comes in. So that's what I'm thinking about. I'm trying to find my own courage. Making this video is a little bit of my own courage, maybe. And as always, treat it as an experiment. What happens when you think about what the sacred means to you? What happens when you maybe make space for other people or ask them what the sacred means to them? Let me know if you do experiment. Be so curious how you feel, how that courage changes you, and any signs you see that it changes the world as well. So be well, be brave.